Do you want to know how to stop repeating patterns in your life? Today, we're going to do the setup for just that in this two-part video. Today is part one. I'm Dr. Rezaie. Welcome to Blocks of Health. And today we're going to figure out how to stop repeating patterns in your life. Hey guys, so today this is part one. I'm going to lay down the foundation of what you need to understand about repeating patterns in your life. Join me in part two, and then I'm going to explain how you can hack in and change and do different things to at least make the changes that you need to, so you're not repeating those same patterns. You're not caught in those loops. And that's what I'm going to refer to them as, is the loops that we get caught in life. Hanging out with the same people and not expecting a different result, doing the same activities, same things over and over and over. It's like you're in that hamster wheel and you're not going anywhere. Okay, so I'm going to lay out the 5 layers that we see that a person is made up of. And this is general across the board for everybody, okay? At the center, you're going to have your purpose. At the core of you is your purpose, okay? This is how you decide, like, I'm going to do something, and now I'm motivated, I'm going to go do it. Outside of that, your body, and that's going to be your generator. And then you're going to get your emotions, which are going to be around that. And then your mind is going to cover that. And then your spirit ultimately is kind of what's enveloping everything, okay? Now, for us, the way we see it, you've probably heard some of these words, but we're going to set up in a different way. At your core of your purpose, this is your driver, okay? So driver, this is what's giving you the momentum to then start pushing and going stuff. Your body is then going to be your generator. Everything that you want to do for that purpose then has to be generated through the body, okay? It's the only way it's going to happen. And then we have emotions. Emotions are your indicator. This is then going to allow you, when you're having an experience, this is when you have neurotransmitters releasing, you have that sensation, right? And this usually can let you know how something is going to be necessarily good or bad. It's kind of indicating to be like, are you on the right path? Are you doing the right things? And then, so some people, let's not confuse emotions with feelings. This is where the mind comes in. This is your processor, okay? The processor is what's putting the feelings on emotions. So the classic one is like, you know, you used to hear athletes like before events, you know, they've got that like adrenaline flowing, you know, they've got that, you know, maybe the belly's kind of a little like, what some people call butterflies. Some people would be like, I'm nervous. They're excited, right? So that's putting a feeling on an emotion. And that's what we need to understand the difference is. And then finally, what you have, your spirit, which is what we think is your beliefs. And this is your director, okay? So this is really important because most people, again, I know there's this big movement, everyone's talking about, you know, beliefs because they're so huge, and how we have like underlying beliefs or sometimes core beliefs from our childhood. So we really see the spirit then all of a sudden acts like a cage, right? It can limit you if you have limiting beliefs, right? So it's just like, again, the classic story, when people couldn't run a 4-minute mile, the belief was you would die running a 4-minute mile. If you believe that, you're never gonna run a 4-minute mile. Now the person who then takes that and is kind of like, no, 4-minute mile is possible, they blow that limit away. Now the next thing to do is then make it happen, and that's where believing is seen. There's no seeing is believing. I know people talk about this all the time, but it's believing is seen. Until you believe it, it won't happen in reality. So you have to create that. So now how do we get there, right? So again, we go back. Purpose drives you, okay? You have to decide that you want something, that you're worth it, to then go after it. Then you have to use your body. This is where work has to come in. You actually have to do things. Sometimes maybe it's meeting people, creating work, generating, doing whatever it is you do, but that happens with your body, okay? That generation then will create emotions. Now, sometimes you need to listen to these emotions because they're the ones that really guide you. Now, where people get stuck is, I'm going to talk at this level of emotions. This is actually where loops happen. People get stuck in emotions, right? So it's that sensation that gets released when you do things. Some people do this with exercise. Some people do this with the foods they eat. Some people do this with the stuff that they watch, the things that they listen to. These are so many different ways of like where people become addicts because of the sensations that happen when they do particular behaviors. Currently, right now, let's talk about the internet. Let's talk about your phone. Let's talk about social media. I mean, how many people are like addicted on these loops of doing this day in, day out? And so we have to figure out ways to, again, realizing to become self-aware is, I'm just trying to set up the system. It's helpful, but until you make change, nothing's really gonna happen, okay? So what we learn is those loops are really those emotions, but then the feelings that people tie to those emotions will really start to anchor them down, right? So now all of a sudden you're having these neurotransmitters release that create these sensations in your body, and so you're having these emotions, and what you tie your beliefs of like what those emotions are They can be beneficial, they can be hindering, they can scare you. So sometimes when people are doing a new experience and you kind of have that like adrenaline rush, people are kind of like, ooh, I don't want to feel that. That scares me. So, but if that's your feeling with that emotion, you're never going to do new things. You're going to stay comfortable. You're going to stay hidden. You're going to be scared, right? But if you can change that and kind of be like, ooh, when I have that feeling like that jittery, that buttery, that means I'm doing something that's kind of like new, maybe a little dangerous, maybe something outside my comfort zone. And that's how you start making changes, because you have to put the feeling on top of the emotion, right? And then once you start having feelings, these are your thoughts. And once these become, you think something long enough, it becomes a belief. That's the difference. That's why spirit is out there, and that's why that's belief, because when we have thoughts to it a certain extent, day in, day out, when you start thinking something, you start to believe it. And that's when real big change really starts to happen, okay? Because once you believe it, that becomes part of like your core. It allows that purpose to come to life, right? You're gonna believe in something so much. This is where you see people, they believe so much that they will push themselves to the limits, beyond limits that people think exist, because they believe there's more. And that's what belief is, right? Now there's a couple things with belief that I want to set up in this real quick, and I'll do another video to go real more in depth. And there's a difference between belief and truth. Now there are universal truths in this world, and they apply regardless of whatever you want to think. Like you can believe, hey, when the sun goes down, it's not going to come up. The truth is the sun comes up every day, right? It's on cycle. So there are beliefs that we can have that become our truths. That doesn't necessarily mean they are the truths. Now there are beliefs that we need to have so that we can believe them to be true, so we can break some of the things that people think are the truths that aren't really the actual truths. And that goes back to that 4-minute mile. When everybody believed running a 4-minute mile would kill you, you had to believe different, that I can survive, that I can do this. And there's people out there that are doing amazing things all the time because they believe beyond what people have told them is true. They're believing past those limits. They're starting to believe in what is possible with a human being. So the reason we stay in loops too is the other thing is, and then you go into like your unconscious mind, because once you've had those feelings, those beliefs that go with the feelings that go onto your emotions, you're not going to do much with your body, right? Why would you want to generate anything for a purpose that you don't even, ultimately you're not going to believe in, right? So people start hiding. We start going out of our prefrontal cortex. You're not in your conscious mind. You're not present. You're not here, right? We go into our unconscious mind because it's hard to be conscious, to be present, to be doing these things day in, day out. It's hard to make that change. So people go back into the unconscious, and this is where you start falling into things. I'm gonna watch Netflix. I'm not gonna go for that workout. I talk myself out of it. Like people aren't creating the setups to kind of be like, when you have an idea, to just go with it, right? To make yourself unstoppable, you have to listen to those gut feelings. When they happen, you gotta do it right then, because if you don't, what happens, you'll go into your mind, that unconscious program is gonna talk you out of it, right? And so this is where we're really kind of just setting up those 5 layers. I want you to understand this. I want that to go home. Let this sit in, because in part 2, we are gonna get into more of the things that I'm talking about how to start changing the patterns that you're setting up, the behaviors, so you can get a different result. You have to change the system and get a different result, okay? So just remember, purpose at your core, your driver, your body. The reason you wanna take care of your body, because it's your generator. That's why people say, get enough sleep, make sure you're drinking enough water, make sure you're eating really good, clean food for the most part. Breathe deep, oxygen. I mean, this is one of the biggest things they're starting to like just realize. Do you know how many people are shallow breathers? You know, people don't breathe deep enough to get the oxygen that's actually ultimately like, it's not just running like your energy system. I mean, your immune system is working off this, the nervous system is gonna be working off this. There's so many things that it's like, it's simple. Just breathe deeper. If you aren't doing breathing meditations, different things like that, these are the things that you can add in, okay? That's why you take care of your generator, so then you can produce positive emotions, at least emotions that are your indicator that you can understand them and be clear-minded, right? So once you're taking that body and it's a little cleaner, you're starting to remove like this clutter. So now emotions are happening. And when it's cleaner, your mind, which is your processor, is then gonna give you can start adding the feelings that you need onto those emotions. Not necessarily be like, oh, that's not scary or different things. You're like, no, I wanna feel that because that's what I need to feel. And that's how you start breaking those habits a little bit, because you're starting to put the feelings with the appropriate emotions the way you want them to be lined up. And then once those feelings start happening enough, you've done that experience enough, because you've seen it multiple times. Once you're just kind of like one off, 2, maybe not 3, but once you've done it a couple handful of times, you start to actually believe in your spirit this is the right way, this is the way it's supposed to be, it makes sense, and then you start following that pattern. So that's why you need to understand those 5 layers of how you're set up and how you're designed, and this is the key to just then going next and then being able to break patterns in your life. Okay, so I hope this was informative. This is part 1. Join me for part 2. I'm going to get into some of those different ways of applying to our 5 layers that make us up so that you can stop repeating patterns and do something new. All right, if you like this, subscribe, and you go in our description, check our website out, follow our podcast, get on our newsletter. We're bringing more and more information because we want to start changing. We want to redefine self-health. So join us on that journey. Have a great day.